Good evening to everybody out there. How's it going tonight? Just clean the lens on this. There we go. A little bit clearer lens. How is the audio? Can you hear me okay? Let me know how the audio is. And we'll get started. Good. Hey, tonight we're going to talk about having dual citizenship. But I'm not talking about citizenship in two different countries. I'm talking about two states of being, dual citizenship, where you feel literally at home in either one of these states. In the same way, for instance, my primary residence is Pennsylvania. My secondary residence is Florida. That may flip-flop someday, and I'm looking forward to that possibly. But I'm not talking about geographical citizenship. What I'm talking about is states of mind, dual citizenship, feeling at home in two different scenarios. So let's talk about that. The two places that I'm talking about are solitude and being social, dual citizenship. Busting the myth that you are an introvert or an extrovert. Anything that puts you into one of two categories is divisive and confusing, even for your mind. A lot of people say, well, I'm an introvert, I don't do this. I would rather have, or someone would say, I'm an extrovert and I don't like being alone. I would rather have you have the opinion that you are an ambivert, A-M-B-I-V-E-R-T, an ambivert, which means that you can be alone and you can be social. And I think that's a more accurate picture of how humans are. Tonight, I want to give a big thank you to T21 Surfer. He's the Blue Wrench tonight, the moderator, keeping everything cool and fun and above board. Let's talk about dual citizenship. I'll tell you a little story real quick. I enjoyed being alone as a younger geek, a nerd, someone who wasn't real good with sports and so forth. Never really fit in. Hung out when I was in school as a kid, teenager. Hung out in the library, the art studio with my art teacher who would let me skip class and hang out in the art studio. I could always go to the library and the librarian would say, do you have a pass to be here? And I would say, no, I don't. And she'd look around and she goes, okay, you can stay. She'd say, okay, you can stay. And I found myself retreating to solitude at times when I didn't want to be in crowds. But also, there's times in my life where I can be the life of the party, and the guy at the door greeting you, asking you what your name is, what you do for a living, how many children you have, tell me something about you that you want me to know, emceeing a huge event somewhere, whether it be a fashion show or a beauty contest or a men's conference. I've done it all. But I will have to say this, that I do like both equally. That's what being an ambivert is. You are comfortable by yourself with no pressing need to have to be with people. Or you could be in a crowd with no pressing need to want to be by yourself. You're an ambivert. You're a person who has dual citizenship. Now, many times you've heard me teach in the past that everything you want is outside your comfort zone. Everything, doesn't matter. You want to lose 50 pounds? It's outside your comfort zone, that goal is. You want to gain 50 pounds? Guess what? That's outside your comfort zone. You have to pursue it little by little by little. But it starts with a goal, a to-do list, and you have to make your way to the other side. Not saying that you have to take a nosedive in and just become Mr. or Miss Social in one day. It might mean that you exercise a technique called systematic desensitization. So people who are typically alone most of the time and experience solitude are those that are doing it out of fear. They're doing it out of by default, not by design. What I want you to be able to do is shift gears and be social at will, or shift gears and have solitude at will. Super important. So I used to spend so much time alone when I was a younger guy, and there were times where I really wanted my own space because I was a reader and I loved reading, and I loved how reading took me away. What does it take you away from? I had some things in my life when I was a young man that I just wasn't comfortable with, and things where I wasn't competent in. I wasn't real good in sports as a young boy, got better as I got older, and what I liked to do was just be by myself all the time. And people would say, what are you, a party pooper? Friends would say, hey, we're going to a party. I'm like, nah, I'm not really into it. Oh, come on, don't be a party pooper. And many times people that prefer solitude are people who are labeled as party poopers or antisocial. I'm not antisocial, and I'm not a party pooper, because I will go to a party, I will create a party at any given time. Many years ago, I used to just call my friends and say, hey, I'm having a get-together at my house tonight. And I'd call 10 or 12 people that I knew and say, you call some friends. Men bring something, what did I say? Women bring something to eat, men bring something to drink, with as little as 6 hours notice, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, and party starting at 8 o'clock at my house. And literally, people would start showing up, and I always had a minimum of 60 to 80 people at my house, because I told them to bring some friends, invite some friends. Men bring something to eat. No, how'd it go? Women bring something to eat, men bring something to drink. So some guys would bring sodas, 6-packs. Women would bring dips and chips and finger food and that kind of thing, and stuff where they would make something if there was, they were given enough notice. And we had a great time. I put the music on, and sometimes there was dancing. Sometimes there was just people breaking off into little dyads and triads and having conversation. And it was fun. People would meet. People would respect my property, respect my furniture. There would be some people in the front yard sitting on the front steps. There would be people on the back deck. There would be people swinging on a hammock. People sitting in the living room. People hanging out in the kitchen. Of course, the rest of the house was off limits, like upstairs. No one was going upstairs to the bedrooms. I had a bathroom on the first floor. 60 to 80 people. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And then towards the end of the night, 11, 12 o'clock, midnight, when people started to go, there was always those that wanted to hang out and those that weren't maybe real social. But what they did was they wanted to help out, help me clean up, do the dishes, straighten things out, maybe run a vacuum or something like that. And I always thanked everybody. And while I had a party at my house, I would just circulate from person to person and say, I don't know you, but I'm George. This is my house. I'm so glad you came. And they would introduce themselves to me. 60 to 80 people in my house. And there was no craziness. It was just people that were being social. People that were being social. And they always said, hey, great party, man. Had such a great time. All I did, think about this, all I did was just open my door. And I didn't even have to provide the drinks and the food. Think about it. People love bringing stuff to a party. Even if they have to stop and get a pizza, donuts, cookies, anything like that. Oh, this is one of the best parties I ever went to in a long time. I got that quite often, and all I did was open my door. And people knew that they weren't like wild parties. They were parties where people just literally came and talked and had a good time. And it was a very, very, how can I put it, heterogeneous group. It was men and women, introverts, or like people that tend to prefer social things, introverts. I'm the only guy in the world that can fill up my house with introverts and then trick them into being extroverts. Black, white, Asian, younger, older. And it was fun. It was a very, very mixed group. So at the end of the night, a couple people would always hang out, help me clean up, do dishes, that type of thing. And then I'd end up on the front steps, just hanging out, smoking a cigar with somebody, like the last person who's going to leave. And we might have stayed up till 1 or 2 in the morning, just chit-chatting. And then after they said, well, I got to get going now, I shake hand or hug, or who, depending on who the person was, they would say goodbye, and they'd say, oh, this was great. We had such a great time. Thanks for doing this tonight. And they left, and I came back in the house, and it was quiet, and everything was neat. All the furniture was in place, and it was as if there wasn't even a party there. So I went from being super social to all of a sudden walking back into the house going, nice, quiet, wonderful. Dual citizenship, having residency in solitude and in the social. And that is a great way to help develop your stability in the world. I've talked for a couple years now on being the stable Stoic. And stability comes from being able to function in a multitude of environments. Remember I said your goals all exist, your weight loss, your weight gain, your financial increase, all of that stuff happens outside your comfort zone. So literally, I would force, or maybe force is too strong of a word, I would encourage myself, who is naturally I wouldn't say loner, but a person who likes solitude. I'm naturally a person that likes that. To encourage myself to be a little bit more social on my own turf, which is even harder, because it's easy to go to a party, isn't it? Because you can leave at any time. When you have a party at your house, you can't be alone until the last person decides to leave. So what it did was it helped me be a little more comfortable with the social. Hence, dual residency in solitude and social. Tell me your experiences on how you have dual residency or not. If you are afraid of being social, let me hear your story in the chat. Just explain in the chat very briefly the things that you feel are a challenge to you regarding solitude and regarding a social life. whether it be on your terms or someone else's terms. So I'd love to hear from you on that. Adrian, hello from South Carolina. Thanks, man. I appreciate you showing up tonight. Having dual citizenship in solitude and social. It's a skill. It takes time. It does. Not everybody can do it. But let me share this with you. It is a learned behavior. It's not something you're not. If you are if you are referring to yourself as an introvert, please know. Hey Jack, how are you? Good to see you, man. Local homeboy here in Philly. If you prefer to be alone, just know that aloneness is a learned behavior, and all behavior is learned. Some is instinct, but most behavior is learned. Rich says, I try to divide my time. By nature, I'm very social, but I do like my alone, introspective, quiet time. Not sure how I can do it, but I do seem to be good at and comfortable with. Yeah. The more it's like anything. You know, if you start working out, and let's just say you're doing, you have dumbbells and you're doing curls, and you start out, let's say, like 15-pound dumbbells. In a year, you're going to be up to doing your workouts with 50-pound dumbbells. But when you first started, you never imagined in a million years that someday you would be doing shoulder presses with 50-pound dumbbells. You never imagined that. So in the same way, the person who is alone and loves solitude and is afraid to be more social, you can't imagine yourself being social in the same way that you couldn't imagine yourself doing military dumbbell presses with 50-pound dumbbells. It's incremental. But the first thing that needs to take place is the will. The will needs to, the mind needs to say, I want to be more social. Or if you are a very social person, I want to learn how to be alone. And many times our scenarios, I will be getting around to your questions and your comments. Let me just say this real quick. Many times life thrusts us into these situations. If you're a married person or you have a steady partner and they walk, or you have a breakup, all of a sudden the person that was with you all the time is now gone and you're alone. And you feel that aloneness and it's negative. And you start thinking in your head, well, wait a minute, I brought this person into my life when I was alone, and I never had to deal with loneliness. And then they left, now I'm back to being alone again. There was a song in the 70s, I forget. What was that song in the 70s called? Alone Again Naturally. Very sad song. You want to jump off a cliff. If any of you remember that, let me know. I forget who. Was that Eric Carmen? Is that right? No. Well, there's two songs. There's All By Myself, and then there was Alone Again Naturally. And kind of like depressing songs. The internet is a major obstacle in experiencing true solitude. You're right about that. Adrian says, my brother lives in Philly. I'm thinking on visiting him in a couple months. Would it be okay if I got a professional haircut by you? Absolutely. Absolutely. Man of the Midwest, good evening. Lucas from Manly Youth, the Manly Youth channel on YouTube, says, when it comes to solitude, the biggest issue for me is that it's really hard to even have some time and space alone. Seems like there's people around 24/7. Yes. That's why I said your state of being, your state of mind, is it by default or is it by design? The times that I am alone and happiest are when I've chosen to be alone, not when everyone canceled out or you go through a divorce or a breakup or something like that. When someone else or some other scenario makes the decision for you. The best way to experience solitude is when you choose it yourself. It's by design. This introvert trained himself to be a dynamic live performer and all-around social guy. When I get home, I enjoy my quiet home. Yes, Joe, grunt. Yes, absolutely. That is so true. If you're out there and social, you want your home to be a place of peace, a respite, a little break from the outside world. That's so important. E. Hartford, good to see you. I'm a social introvert. I like to be surrounded by people, but charge my batteries in solitude. Yes, so you have dual citizenship. My parents and stepdad were much the same way, it seems, Rich says. Calderon, hello back to you. Oliver Light says, is learning how to talk to women in the streets a way a way to get way out of your comfort zone, to get really social? Well, when you say talk to women in the streets, the first thing that came to my mind was just saying hello to people with a smile and saying your name. It shows a little bit of vulnerability. Ralstonian, hello. Skywalker from Canada. Joel says, I've been to parties like that and they're great. My solitude I cherish because of my work over the years. In a high noise environment, being in a quiet place is great. Yeah. I read something, and I'm thinking of actually doing this at the salon where I work. There was a salon that I had read about that had something like Quiet Tuesdays or Quiet Mondays, where there's nothing, no talking. Come in, get your hair cut, no small talk. There's no barber or stylist trying to strike up, small talk or meaningless conversation with you. It's hello, haircut, goodbye. And I've been tempted to have kind of a quiet, do a thing called Quiet Tuesday. That's something that I've considered. Thank you for the super chat, whoever that was. That's appreciated. Gilbert O'Sullivan said, alone again naturally. Yes. That was number 1 on your birthday. Skywalker says, you're an inspirational. Your videos are amazing. Thank you, sir. All by myself, Eric Carmen. Yes, Iggy, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, those who remember the 70s remember those songs. They were kind of depressing, but they were part of our youth. Jack says, I'm kind of an introvert, but I like my downtime to draw and write with my fountain pen. All right, but I'm very social. I like my alone time, but let's just say sometimes I need to get together with a friend. Yeah, I 100% get that. That's a fantastic way to be. It really is. Simon and Garfunkel, A Rock in My Room. Oddball, good to hear from you. We, my wife and I, use our shop time for alone time, together time, and most of our friends and fellow makers, creators, use the shop time and party time, similar to what your party has mentioned. Yeah. Seasons in the Sun. Oh my God, there were so many of these alone and lonely songs in the 70s. Hartford, thank you for joining in. Ralstonian, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Oh, that guy says, anymore I can only hang out with fire and brimstone end times hardcore crazies. I don't know any other than myself and people on the internet. I hear you. Tim Anderson says, don't know this is unusual. Spent many years as a radio host or DJ and actor, but actually quite shy and reserved socially around strangers in a room. Love friends, but happy with solitude. Need it. Yes, Tim. Oh, I so get that. I can so relate. Ralstonian says that he prefers solitude, but not a recluse. Yeah, that's because you enjoy solitude by design. It's not by default. It's not like everyone canceled out on you and no one wants to hang out with you. There's times, you've seen me sometimes do a live broadcast on a Friday night, right? When everyone else is out on a date night or something, I am by myself on a Friday night. Why is that? Because I can. It's the one night of the week where no one asks me, hey, what are you doing? You want to go out? You want to do this? You want to do that? It's my alone time. And there's many times on a Friday night, I'm just reading a book. And the next day when I'm at work, people say, hey, so what'd you do last night? I would say, I stayed home and read a book. They're like, what? I said, yeah, I just read a book. And people think it's odd when you can spend time by yourself and enjoy it, because most people can't do that. Some people need the noise. You know, there's some people who have like the TV on at all times or a radio on at all times. Like right now, I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear the crickets? I'm actually outside right now in the Van Gogh room. But the crickets are out. It's peaceful. It's nice. Solitude. It's quiet. Maybe I'll have a pipe, maybe not. I've got my water here with some Propel electrolyte little packet mixed in there. Feeling good, feeling healthy, and happy. This means a lot if you went a little off topic to read this. I have type 1 diabetes and sometimes I feel sluggish. Yes, type 1. Go as natural as you can. Take a look at the, I don't know if you go to a chiropractor or a naturopath, but diet is so important to how we feel. Yeah. Daniel Leslie says, George, if I can ask, how is your new truck? Have you had it long? What do I think of the Savinelli 320? I do. I have a Toyota Tacoma that I like very much. It's the, what do they call it? Every other company calls it the extended cab. Toyota calls it the access cab. So it's like a 4-door, and it's got a bench seat in the back with 2 suicide doors in the back. And my Savinelli pipe is fantastic. Love this thing. Absolutely love it. Mandy, oh my God, yeah. Songs to kill oneself from the 70s, Alex. Isn't that true, man? The 70s, like some of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life were from the 70s, but also some of the most depressing ones as well. Greetings from Austria. The Who song, I'm one of a kind. I'm growing my beard a little bit longer. Like, here's my Adam's apple. I'm going to grow this down to about here. So it's just going to be kind of like this. The beard's going to be like that for the winter. Yeah. Rapture ready. I have heard Christopher Guest is much the same way. A funny guy on screen, but in person he's very cool. So many journalists said he was a tough interview, though. Yes, I'm well aware of Christopher Guest. Yes. All Alone, Boss Skaggs. Been always a fan of Boss Skaggs. Joel says, I have been working on my house and landscaping to turn it into my castle and an island in the middle of a busy city as an escape from the hustle of life and stay home on a 3-day weekend. Yeah, Joel, that's fantastic. Your home is your respite. It is your vacation. Your home is a break from the outside world. Zach Lee is watching from College Park, Maryland. Levita says, many people who in public appear to be very open and extroverted in their everyday life are calm and enjoy spending time alone. I think it's a very healthy balance of life. Yes, and it goes back to the title of tonight's chat called Dual Citizenship. Having a residency in solitude and in social. And it's all part of being a stable Stoic as well. because you're comfortable in any situation, whether it be with 2 people or 200 people. The Rossi 8320, same shape, lower price tag. Yeah, you're going to love it. You're absolutely going to love it. You can hear the crickets in the back. How does the 320 compare to the 673? They're both, I give them both an A+. The 320 is huge. I mean, and I have them out here. The 320 is just massive. And the 673 is just, this is perfect. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. But they're both perfect, but for different reasons. How do I not trim a new beard for 2 months in a white collar environment without looking like a hobo? Chris, I wish I had an answer for you, but I already know what my beard is. I know what I want to look like. But now I'm getting a little fuzzy, and I'm going to get really fuzzy because by the end of October, I want a nice, full, substantial beard. So I know what you're going through because I'm going to spend the next month and a half looking a little scruffy. And I even brought my line, like you could see where my line is right here. I brought it, I didn't shave, so my line is down to the Adam's apple now. So I got a good inch that I have to grow out, kind of fill it in. You can't avoid the hobo stage, you can't. When should we expect you on Joe Rogan? I'm waiting for the invite. I was talking with his people. Ralstonian says, George, I've often been told I'm an old soul, and from what I've read, old souls tend to prefer solitude. Is that true? I would think so. I would think so, yeah. I, you know what? No, oddball, I didn't get that pipe fixed. I brought this with me to Warsaw, Poland. This is it right here. It's a Danmore. It's a Danish pipe. I absolutely love. It's such a great. It just the curves on it are beautiful, and this is wide and very, very thin. And what you should do is take the stems out of the pipes and put them in a container, you know, a hard shell container. I didn't. I just threw it in my suitcase, and literally the, what do you call it, a tenon, whatever, broke off like that. So that's got to get drilled out, and a new, I don't know, what's the, I forget the name of the plastic, Delrin or something like that. A Delrin tenon has to be put in there so I can still put it in, but it's literally one of my favorite pipe. I call this my cherry pipe because I only smoke cherry tobacco in it. But that broke when I went to Poland. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you. Let's see. How long can I keep Pete's Best in a jar? Forever, man. Forever. I just got a Rossi Vittoria 8111. I'm going to light it up for the first time tonight. Oh, good. Wonderful. Other than the Savinelli, what is my favorite pipe? You know, I always say the asking me to pick a favorite pipe is like trying to ask me what my favorite, which one of my children is my favorite kids. And you can't choose. But if I had to choose, it would be the Country Gentleman, which I love. Missouri Meerschaum. This was my first Country Gentleman. They used to make them much bigger. They don't make them this big anymore. For you guys that are new to the hobby, this is a massive one. The new ones are smaller than this. So this is a bear. I love this thing. What else? Whatever happened to the Bones Bulldog you got from Chris Morgan? Oh, that's my brother Tony has that, and he loves it. It's a great one. What's the furthest that someone has traveled to get a haircut or beard trimming from you? Scotland. I've had people come to the chill chair from Scotland. I'm just thinking of the faraway places: Scotland, California, Brazil, Iran, Tunisia, Northern Africa, um, Ireland. Yeah. Was going to ask if you saw our suggestion on Instagram, but it looks like you already got a plan for getting it fixed. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I remember your suggestion. Email me. Throw me an email at gb@georgebruno.com, oddball, and let me know what that was. I have so much data coming at me. I walk out the door in the morning and just data all day long. Last week I did 3 12-hour days, one 10-hour day, and that was outside the house, and then a lot of work, home office work, that kind of thing, production work. George, how does one make a long distance relationship work? Each has already acknowledged the possibility of starting a family together. Boy, that's a hard one. You have to stay in touch. You don't want to do an out of sight, out of mind. You have to prepare your hearts. Uh, I've always thought that distance, if two people are right for one another, distance ignites desire, or distance can snuff out desire, depending on how both of those people are. I'm not really wired for long distance relationships, and it's difficult. Still waiting for the ASMR. Yeah, man. What is my favorite Italian dish? Probably fettuccine Nicola, which is fettuccine noodles with a gorgonzola white sauce, with grilled chicken, fresh basil, and chopped up asparagus. That is my just all-time favorite. Maybe number two. Number one is obviously spaghetti and meatballs. I mean, I love that as well. Jimmy says, my Canadian ex-wife of 6 years called false abuse after I asked for 6 months separation. She is now entitled to have her remaining 9 months left on her visa instantly granted. I am sorry to hear that. That blows. Feel like she used me for dual citizenship. Yeah, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I feel for you. I have no answers for you, but I definitely feel for you. Yes, I am a sushi fan. T21 says his favorite Italian dish is about 5'2" with long black hair. Ah, yes. So you understand the concept of dual citizenship, being comfortable in both states and learning to cultivate them, because everything you want is outside your comfort zone. If you have in the past referred to yourself as an introvert, putting together a stand-up comedy routine and telling jokes in front of a crowd is probably not the way to ease into a more extroverted social lifestyle. But it is possible, where you can cultivate more social propensities. You have natural propensities, and then you have like these cultivated scenarios where you can't even remember a time when you were a loner or when you were a lover of solitude. I love solitude. It's built into my life. I know as I have reconsidered marriage again for the first time in 16 years, and that's just happened like pretty recently. that because I've cultivated a love for solitude, what would marriage do to that? I've thought to myself, holy cow, I won't be alone. But the person that I would marry or partner up with would have to realize that I'm not going to give up my solitude. That's not going to happen. I need my alone time. And people who are not trusting would say, well, are you cheating? Why do you want alone time? You must be up to something. I'm not up to anything except needing my alone time and quiet time. A lot of times alone, for me, a great scenario with solitude means I'm alone and it's quiet. Solitude for some people means going into the city and walking around the streets. I know in Philly, we have a lot of great sites. You take the train into town, and that's solitude, where you're just by yourself, going to the museum by yourself. I mean, that could be fun. I would enjoy that. So there's different kinds of solitude. There's solitude amongst a crowd of people in a city, or there's solitude literally like how I am now. I'm literally outside in the Van Gogh room and by myself. There's no one around and it's quiet and there's just crickets and that's it. So there's many different kinds of solitude. I tend to like solitude and quiet. Some people will be alone and crank the stereo. That's solitude, but loud music. I tend to lean towards solitude and quiet. Matt says, hey Sultan, I want to ask you how you deal with duplicity in corporate politics. Is there a secret attitude? I feel as if I'm being asked to compromise my values and I'm always being used and overlooked. Yeah, there is a duplicity. There is. Let's face it. When you're working for someone, now, you know how like people will say, well, I'm just keeping it real. That works if you're independently wealthy. If you're working for a company, that company wants to know and rewards you based upon these facts, that you eat, sleep, and breathe their mission statement. They don't even want to know that you have a hobby. They want to know that you're reading the policy and procedure manual when you go home at night and on the weekends. That's the ideal employee, not a person who's balanced. All right, so you do have to have a duplicity. You do have to have you have your corporate face, and then you have your regular default face. But the company wants to know that you live and move for them. So don't keep it real when it comes to your company. Well, there are some aspects of MGTOW that are true. I do agree with that. A-Ross says, my channel changed your life. Good. Thank you, sir. Due to the good old boy system, love these live chats. Yeah. Oliver says, can enjoying being alone be too much of a problem? I don't think so. Growth happens. If you're a growth-oriented person, I honestly believe that you could be alone and learn, and you can be with people and learn. But you do need both. You do need both. You have to strike a balance. It's super important. If you start feeling nervous about going to a party or a social event, then you know you've been alone too long. Okay? You've been alone too long. Or if you've been nothing but social, and then Friday night comes and you don't have plans, that freaks a lot of people out. I know it freaks a lot of women out, the fact that they're alone. And like dating sites have really helped women just kind of book the men. Like women can just go on like 7 dates, 7 days in a row, and many do, for coffee or dinner or whatever like that. I don't see men doing that. I do think men and women deal with solitude and social differently. I'm not real social. I wasn't always this way. I taught myself that, yeah. Jack says, what do you say to someone when they call you fake? That's their problem, not yours. Yeah. Rich says, funny you say this, George. I have lost a few relationships due to my appreciation for alone me time. I guess those gals just didn't get it. That's right. They need to get it. Always welcome at my fire, George. Come visit Australia. I would love to come to Australia sometime. I really would. Do I have a drink with me? All I have is my water right now, right here. So I'll raise it, whatever you have to drink, raise it right now and let's do a toast, okay? So here's to everyone on tonight's chat, whether you are alone or with somebody, whether you're happy or sad, married or divorced, wanting to be married or wanting to be divorced. This is to you. Thank you for joining me. Daniel says, my idea is grabbing a pipe and going for a walk by the lake, or if I'm in the mood for music, might put on the record player low and enjoy a pipe and scotch. You know what walking while smoking a pipe is called? There's actually a word for that. It's called lunting, Lunting, lunting. If you look up lunting, it's walking while smoking a pipe. So you enjoy lunting. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Ralstonian says, one of my favorite forms of solitude is going to a sensory deprivation therapy center. Yeah, I know some people that have been to those, like the little pod kind of thing, right? Yeah. Joel says, P.S. I like to crank on the 400-watt stereo in the garage, drinking whiskey and listening to 60s surf guitar. I have done that too, man, where I just, like for me, that would be like a night of listening to Rush or Metallica and just knowing that I wasn't going to be getting into a car and driving, just staying home and listening to some loud music. Now I don't listen to loud music as much. I'll just put on the headphones. Matthias says, I've been trying to enjoy the Stoic mindset. Yeah, it's so pleasing. It's because you can be anywhere in life and just have a good time. You have really no expectations of anyone else or any scenarios at all. And seriously, if you enter life from a place of internal joy, and I've been saying this now, when you enter life from an internal place of joy, you enter winning. You win whether you are social or not, whether you are alone or not. You have a winning attitude. And I'm not talking about winning as in beating other people like in a race, like you're the first one to cross the finish line. It's that you are a victor over life's circumstances. You win. You're a winner. And that's where your joy comes from. That's where your happiness and contentment comes from knowing that you are not affected by the nonsense, by the news. I turned off the news 3 years ago. You know, I haven't watched TV in 3 years. 3 years. And all of a sudden, you start seeing and hearing things that you that you've missed. Think how much time is spent watching news or listening to news. I can't even do it anymore. I read the news because it's not emotional. When you watch the news, it's all emotions. So I suggest just getting rid of the TV or just streaming stuff onto your TV, from your phone or your computer. Kevin Morgan, good to see you. At what age did I start living on my own? I think I was 18 or 19. Do I still have the Vespa? No, I sold the Vespa. That was a GT 250. And would I ever get a Harley? I would get a Harley. Yeah. A good wine or good whiskey? Boy, again, that's like asking me which one of my kids is my favorite. I like wine and whiskey. I never mix them. But when I'm alone, I like whiskey. When I'm with people or at a romantic dinner, then it's wine. Yes. What's the lightest weight I've been recently? 186. Sean says, I'm learning Stoic philosophy right now. Still want to slang dingling, though really feel like I'm going to be slanging the pipe the moment I'm financially secure. Is that a bad thing? No, not at all. Let me just put it this way. You choose your life. You don't hurt anybody. You certainly don't let anyone hurt you. And you watch life happen. You participate when you want. A lot of people want to pull you into their drama, whether it be a spouse or family or friends or society or Twitter or just some stupid online nonsense. And your answer is no to all of that. The answer is no. You're not going to participate in all of that. And what is the result of that? You end up maintaining sanity, clarity, and reason. You've been hearing me talk about that for a couple years now. Above all, seek sanity, clarity, and reason. And your life will be nice. Well, you guys rock. I got to get up really early tomorrow morning and start a long day of cutting hair. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I'm not the highest energy right now, as you can tell. And I'm kind of coming in for a landing. But I really appreciate you joining me tonight. We had some nice numbers. That's much appreciated. And think about it. Dual citizenship. Being comfortable in solitude and in social. Peace be with you. Good night.